Donald Trump is a leader defined by his immediate, loud, and absolute confidence. In almost every global arena, his default setting is to dominate the airwaves. His approach to volatile international disputes reflects this. Regarding the decades-long Kashmir conflict, he frequently claimed he could step in and resolve the issue instantly, treating deep-seated geopolitical tensions like a simple real estate negotiation. He rarely pauses to calculate the diplomatic fallout or the sensitivity of an allied nation before delivering a statement. This aggressive, vocal unpredictability is his primary political weapon, used to maintain a consistent dominant posture over every conversation. That context makes his behavior during the Beijing summit entirely out of character. The American president was walking through the Chinese capital, side by side with Xi Jinping. A reporter cut through the noise, directly and repeatedly asking Trump a single question: did the two leaders discuss the issue of Taiwan? Trump remained silent. He didn't deflect or boast. He physically withdrew from the interaction and kept walking without acknowledging the press. Seasoned American journalists on the ground were baffled. This was a trademark-breaking avoidance from a man who usually has an opinion on everything. To understand why the loudest president in American history suddenly lost his voice, we have to look at the specific 2,400-year-old warning delivered by his host. Behind the grand ceremonial welcome and the artillery salutes, the American delegation arrived in Beijing operating from a defensive posture. Recent foreign policy operations had stalled. Strategic efforts to isolate Iran failed to achieve primary objectives, while simultaneously complicating relationships with key allies in Europe and the Middle East. These unresolved entanglements drained American diplomatic capital, stripping the delegation of their usual negotiating leverage before the summit began. The lack of leverage is reflected in the delegation's roster. Trump brought top CEOs like Elon Musk and Microsoft officials to bolster the American presence with corporate weight. Bringing this much private sector power to a state visit suggests the U.S. was prioritizing defensive economic protection over geopolitical expansion. Xi Jinping capitalized on this shift during his keynote address. He bypassed standard diplomatic pleasantries to focus on high-level historical rhetoric. Speaking in Mandarin, Xi asked his American counterparts a pointed question: can China and the United States overcome the Thucydides Trap? This concept originates in ancient Greece, around 400 BC. Thucydides, a military strategist and historian, identified a recurring pattern in how great powers interact during a shift in status. The pattern follows a specific logic. A flat, slightly descending line represents the ruling power, Sparta. The sharply rising line represents the challenger, Athens. When a rising power threatens to displace an established one, the theory suggests that massive conflict becomes structurally and historically inevitable. By framing the summit around this specific historical trap, Xi was signaling that the structural shift in power was already underway, and that the era of the uncontested superpower was reaching its limit. While the trap highlights the risk of war, Xi's speech pointed toward a singular historical alternative. He was referencing the modern transition between the United Kingdom and the United States. As the British Empire recognized its irreversible decline, London chose to peacefully cede the top global ranking to the rising American power rather than fight to maintain it. This peaceful transition was only possible because the UK accepted a runner-up status in exchange for shared economic and security cooperation. This was the ultimatum delivered to the American delegation. America must decide if it will voluntarily accept a peaceful transition to second place or risk the consequences of the trap. The shifting power balance was visible in the physical demeanor of the two leaders throughout the summit. Xi maintained a posture of silent confidence, while Trump put forth a strained effort to project friendliness and maintain control. The Chinese public and media immediately framed the visit as a total validation of their country's status as a genuine world power. The summit's optics mirrored a new global reality. China is now comfortable setting the tone, while America is left to navigate the response. For the first time in decades, the United States is operating as something other than the sole global hegemon. The focus of global geopolitics has shifted toward how the American political system will navigate the end of its uncontested influence. Will the U.S. accept a peaceful transition of power, or will the desire to reclaim rank 1 status pull the world toward the Thucydides Trap?
If you value clarity over chaos, explore more on Clear Lens X.